whole project into small services, and we have separate programs, separate like each services is a whole program in itself, and we for communication between them we use synchronous as well as asynchronous method by which they share data and other informations.
Okay, so can you explain architecture, a common architecture of microservice?
Yes, sure. So this is like we have multiple microservices which is connected to different database. Each microservices can have their own database, and each microservices can have multiple database as well. Then we are having API gateway. In API gateway, all the common non-functional functionalities are deployed. So whenever any user put any request, end user, it first hit the API gateway. It then invoke the Eureka server or server discovery functionality. From there it gets the IP and all the details of the services, and then it delegates it after authentication and after all the non-functional processes. It delegates it to the required microservices.
Okay, so what is dependency injection?
Dependency injection, it's a facility provided by Spring, where we can simply using annotation at AutoWire, we can ask Spring to inject instance of that class into another class. Like when any Spring Boot application starts, in initial stage only, Spring scan all the component where it indicated that it will be used as a bean in future, and when we write at an AutoWire and that bean, it just pull that bean class and make new instance and inject it.
Okay, so what is the difference between Spring and Spring Boot?
Okay. In Spring, we have all the MVC pattern and everything, but we manually we had to configure all the dependencies, and we had to take care for all the version compatibility things as well. Then in Spring, we used to create the var or ER files and manually deploy it on the server. But in Spring Boot, these things are automated. There is embedded server inside Spring Boot, which is Tomcat for the web application. So we don't need to deploy the ER file or var file explicitly. Just we create the project and we can run it just in one click. Then the version part of the thing is taken care by Spring parent artifact, which is added in the pom.xml. Then we are having all the dependency, which basic dependency included in a Spring Web Starter package. So it download all the dependency and maintain all the version by itself.
Okay, it's nice. So what is the use of Maven and Git?
Maven is used to include the dependency, like we have pom.xml, there we define all the dependency, and Maven get all the jars and dependency for ourselves downloaded automatically. And you asked Gradle, right? Git.
GitHub.
Yes, GitHub. I have used GitHub to upload. It is version for a version controlling thing. When we are having some code, we use it as a repository. We put our code there, and whenever multiple users are updating that, working on that code, they can break multiple branch and pull, push, and do everything. Which will it's basically version controlling thing.
Okay, so what is REST API? How to use it?
REST API?
Yeah.
Okay. REST API, it's a API where where the transfer is stateless and it can be represented into multiple formats. Here, stateless means that we don't store the state of any object anywhere in the memory or file or anywhere. We just transfer it over HTTP protocol without saving the state, and we can transfer that into multiple formats using REST, JSON, XML, etc. As per the requirement of client. Uh, REST and it uses HTTP protocol. We are having multiple verbs to perform, like put, get, patch, delete.
Okay, so what's the difference of Hibernate and JPA?
Hibernate is a vendor provider. Like JPA, it is a interface which invokes Hibernate internally, and the JPA interface, it provides multiple methods which have default definition, which we can simply invoke and use, and internally it calls the Hibernate. So Hibernate is vendor provider, I guess.
Okay, so can you explain about security level, if you know any, authentication, authorization?
Okay. In this, I have idea that like in my project, it is implemented in API gateways only. We have project for security, and there authentication as well as authorization, both method and functions, I mean class and everything is defined there itself. So here the rough idea which I have is that there is some token which is getting generated. There is multiple filters which is being invoked according to there is one main filter which is, I guess, delegating filter is delegate to different chain of filters, and according to that it is checked. In each filter there is some check which is being checked, and finally a token, security token, is generated, which is used by the application for further authorization as well as authentication.
Okay, so database, what is the difference between primary key and foreign key?
Okay, the primary key is in any table, the primary key is unique key by which we can identify any of the entity. And it cannot be duplicate. There is no null. We cannot like one null, I guess we can insert it there. So it is identification attribute for the entity. And foreign key, when we use that primary key in different table, then it becomes foreign key.
Okay, so suppose my table name is employee and 3 column ID, name and salary.
Okay.
I want to retrieve second highest salary of employee.
Okay. So here, first of all, I'll sort it second highest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I will first sort in descending order. Then I'll use limit function to get the second column. 1, 2, I guess. Second, yeah.
Okay, so Java, what is the difference between interface and abstract class?
Interface, it is in interface we can have at least one abstract class, and we can implement multiple interfaces, but in abstract class we can just extend only one abstract classes. And in abstract class we can have definition of, like after Java8 we can have default method in interface as well, and in abstract we can have concrete classes as well as abstract classes. Recall this method.
Okay, so yeah, what is the use of lambda expression and stream API?
Okay. Stream API, it is used for to do multiple operations on collection. It streamline all the element or content of the collection and perform each operation one by one. But lambda expression, it is a way of defining, like if we are having any interface, then earlier we used to create one class which should implement that, and then we used to create object and call and pass the parameter and all those things. This could be done in one line using lambda expression. So it is a kind of shortcut, and also it is a kind, like number of lines in the code can be decreased using a lambda expression.
Okay, so what is the difference between array list and linked list?
Okay, so linked list, it is a linked list is kind of we are having multiple nodes which are linked. Each node is having address of the next node. So linked list is it is like each node is connected to the other with the address of the next one. And in array list, it is when we define any array, it makes a particular size of array in the memory, and when it exceeds that size, it again copy and all the element into the double size array list. So array list, it is implementation of list in the form of array, I guess.
Okay, so how hash map work?
Hash map. Okay. So hash map, it's working as it uses two functions, hash code as well as equals. It generates a hash code. Hash code function returns integer value, which is actually the address where the key value pair is stored. That is the address of actually bucket. And then it uses equals method to compare the object for finding the collision scenario. And when there is collision, it has basically two ways to get rid of collision. One is that open chain method, like it creates linked list in that bucket. Like each bucket is linked list, so if there is collision, it go on adding that next node in that same bucket. But it decreases the performance of the map. So that's why there is different method which is closed. Like we use multiple hash function for that, and this is the way it gets rid of the collision. So it uses hash code and equals internally.
Okay, so what is the difference between string and string buffer?
String and string buffer. String is it is immutable, and string immutable, yes, and string buffer is mutable. If I'm not wrong, I'm confused. Yes, like we cannot change the value of a string, but in string buffer we can change the value. But string buffer is basically it is used in multi-threaded environment because it is thread safe.
Okay, so what is the static and final keyword?
Static and final. Static method, when we define any method as static, we can overload it. We cannot override, but we can overload it. But when we define any method as final, we cannot overload or override it. And final keyword, when we define any variable as final, its value cannot be changed. But when we define any variable as static, its value could be changed, but it is accessible without instantiating that class. Like we don't need to create object for that class, but we can access that for static variable or method.
Okay, so what is the difference between comparable and comparator interface?
Okay, both are interface, but comparable is internally implemented by our collections, tree, wherever there is sorting things like a tree or hash map, I guess. Yeah. So wherever there is sorting thing, and that is being implemented. But when we want to pass our sorting method, or we want to sort, then we use comparator interface, where we override method to compare to provide our own definition.
Okay, so what serializable interface?
Serializable interface is used when there is multi-threaded environment. We like there is suppose there is a we need to serialize any object's state into file or somewhere. So we it should not be it should not be it should not get corrupted, or another thread should not pick the wrong value, or should not change, like basically, like if I take the example of logger. So we use same logger object for all the all the sessions, so it could be dotted down in the same file. So here we need to maintain the same object throughout the application run. So there we use serializable, so that it could be serialized into the file. And
Okay, so what is multi-threading and how to achieve?
Multi-threading is like when multiple thread is being accessing the particular resource, whether it is class, variable, or any resources. So it is multi-threading environment. To achieve that, we need to take care that all the resources should be mutually exclusive, like and we have to check if there is any critical area we need to find, and we can achieve it by putting lock, so that if any thread enters that lock, that critical area, and accessing that resource, then at that time no other thread should be allowed to access that resource. So in this way we can achieve achieve the multi-threading safe environment.
Okay, so can you explain about agile methodology? Just overview.
Yes, agile methodology here. We actually we in our project we are using agile. So I'll explain the same thing. So we are using a 2-week sprint here. So we are having multiple ceremonies, where we first is sprint planning meeting, where we interact, all the team get together, and we decide which problems we have to work upon in the coming sprint. And then we have daily scrum meeting, where we give update how much we have done and what is the problem we are facing, so that we can help each other. Like agile have multiple principle, where it is like in that principle it is mentioned that we should be team should be very supporting to each other and collaborating. That's why this scrum meeting is done for that same purpose. So we help each other with, if someone can. And then we are having, after every completion of every sprint, we give demo to the client. And after that we have a retrospective meeting, where we discuss what went wrong and how should we improve, so that from the next, after the feedback of client, we discuss it, so then we can implement the same in the next sprint. So these are the things which we follow. So here, and one more important thing in agile environment is that there is no specific role assigned to anyone. Like all the people, apart from project manager, we are in development team, and there is no specific role assigned or no specific technology. So we are having understanding of all the component of our project. We know we can handle, like if someone is not able to do, we just take over that and we do the thing. So main target is to achieve the client satisfaction here.
Okay, so what is unit testing?
Unit testing is done like when we have created a single component and we want to test it without completing the project. So we write the unit test cases there to check, and also after completion of project, if we want to for testing purpose, we have to give dummy data and we have to run the project in development during development time itself. Then we write the unit tests and we run and we check.
Okay, so can you write a very small code? See description of that.
Write Java application to create array list and add 3 to 4 cities name. Yeah, sure. Should I do this?
Yeah, you just copy this question in your notepad Eclipse and yeah. And then share it.
Yes, I'm doing that. Just give me 1 minute. Are you able to see my notepad now? Okay. Create array list. This is the list. And add 3 to 4 cities name. Print line by line. Okay. I'm done.
Okay, so
Yes.
yeah, stop sharing.
Okay. Yeah, done.
Okay, so how to write custom exception in Java?
Custom exception. For that we need to create class, and then we will implement either exception or runtime exception. This is, I'm not sure. I'm just guessing with whatever knowledge I have.
Okay.
So
yeah. Can you explain about MVC and single chain return pattern and how to implement?
Yes. Like in MVC pattern is about model, view, and controller. Here we segregate our model classes and model, which is actually the entities, or you can say the yes, like we are having any entities. Let it be employee. So we have a number of attribute in that. So we create a Java class where we define getter and setters, and we do all those stuff. That is basically model. We use this model to get the object values and transfer it from one layer to another layer. Then we are having a controller class. Controller class is basically used to present the view to the it is basically, it collaborate with the view layer to provide the required data or required views. Like if we are having to display the student's name, then it will first of all controller will go to service classes, and the service class get all the values of the student using model class, and then it will pass on to the controller class. Controller class will now transfer this to view. So there is interaction between view and controller, and then controller knows which services to call. It calls the services, and then that services interact with the model class. So this is the MVC pattern. And about singleton pattern, here singleton is actually this is the main crux of singleton is that we should use the same object instance throughout the project. Like this is basically if we take the example, then data source is the best example here. We create data source, and all the class and all the programs access the same data source entity. Also logger or property file object we create. So this type of project these types of beans we create according to singleton pattern. Singleton pattern, yeah, this much. Do you want me to tell how to create singleton class?
No. Okay. So, yeah, how to debug your application or project?
By using we set the breakpoint, and we run the application in debug mode. Then we use three keys: F5, F6, and F6, F7, F8.
Okay, so once there is a postman, you also use postman to get any?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the most complex task you handle in your job? Like any, achieve anything, learn anything, solve anything?
Most difficult task? Could you please?
Yeah, what's your most challenging task you handle in your job?
Okay.
Like any, achieve anything, learn anything, solve anything. In real-time scenario.
The most challenging was when before initial project was my legacy project. When I came to the new environment, which is Agile, and that too 2 years ago when there was pandemic. So we have to do everything online, and that too in new environment and new architecture. That was very challenging for me, because in Agile there is no fixed responsibility on your side. You have to take care of all the application flow. Like if there is any issue in another microservices also, which is being basically taken care of by others, still you are responsible if something went wrong. So this was very challenging for me initially to adapt, but gradually I adapted into it, and now I'm very comfortable.
Okay, so can you explain your previous project architecture, role and responsibility?
The initial one?
Previous.
Before the microservices one?
Yeah.
Yeah, in that actually it was legacy project, so it was using Spring. Actually, that was a bounce framework, which was based on the Spring framework itself. It was something kind of service-oriented architecture. It had something service-oriented architecture. So there we had we had that MVC pattern. We used to there was we had the one database which was SQL, where all the application used to access, and then there was batches to complete certain tasks, and this much I can recall right now.
Okay, so you are aware of Docker, Cloud, any basic?
Yes, Docker, it is used to create an image file, but this is being taken care by our DevOps teams. So it is being used in our application.
Okay, and Cloud, any basic?
Cloud, we have very limited access to AWS Cloud. So I have, sometime I have used that S3 bucket one, where we used to just upload our code, and that again, it is being taken care